June 17, 1940. The British Troopship HMT Lancastria was anchored off St. Nazaire, France, with thousands of troops as well as British and French civilians on board, waiting to evacuate after France surrendered to Nazi Germany in the wake of the Dunkirk evacuation. But not long after, German dive bombers flew in and dropped at least 3 bombs on the ship. Less than 25 minutes after the vessel was bombed, the ship made her final plunge, with a loss of between 4,000 to 7,000 people. Whatever the exact number is, the loss makes it the worst disaster in British maritime history. RMS Lancastria was constructed in 1920 by the William Beardmore Co. shipbuilders in Glasgow, Scotland, originally named the RMS Tirrenia, named after the Tyrrhenian Sea off the west coast of Italy. The vessel was launched on May 31, 1920, and sailed her maiden voyage from Glasgow to Quebec on June 19, 1922. The vessel was 16,243 gross registered tons, measuring a length of 578 feet, or 176 meters long, and a beam of 70 feet, or 21 meters, alongside her sister ship, the RMS Cameronia. Tirrenia was built for the North Atlantic run from Liverpool to New York. In 1924, 2 years after entering service, Tirrenia was renamed RMS Lancastria since passengers had difficulties pronouncing Tirrenia, and she was converted to a 2-class configuration rather than the traditional 3-class configuration. During the 1930s, Lancastria was used as a cruise ship when the Great Depression decreased ocean travel, and she offered passengers cruises across the Mediterranean and the northern part of Europe. She continued this service until 1939 when the Second World War broke out in Europe. After the war broke out, she was requisitioned by the British Admiralty as a troopship. Her hull was painted a navy gray and all of her portholes were blacked out. She was fitted with a 4-inch gun, and she became known as the HMT Lancastria, meaning His Majesty's Troopship Lancastria. She took part in several battles in early 1940, until she was sent to St. Nazaire, France to evacuate troops and civilians after France surrendered to Nazi Germany in the wake of the Dunkirk evacuation. Lancastria arrived in St. Nazaire on the evening of June 16th, awaiting the arrival of troops and refugees. Lancastria's Captain Sharp was ordered to load as many troops as possible aboard the ship. While she was anchored there, she was accompanied by another Cunarder nearby, the Franconia. As the boarding of Lancastria continued, estimates say that as many as 9,000 people could have boarded the vessel. While Lancastria and other troop ships in St. Nazaire were evacuating French troops and refugees, Germany had heard the news and sent a raid of dive bombers to St. Nazaire in order to prevent the troop ships from leaving. At around 2:30 p.m. on the afternoon of the 17th, a nearby troop ship, the Oronce, was attacked by the raid. Captain Sharp decided to wait for an escort of destroyers to arrive before leaving to reduce the risk of a U-boat attack. But around 30 minutes later, at 3 p.m., several more bombers flew in and dropped a series of bombs on Lancastria. It's estimated that between 3 to 4 bombs hit the ship. Some survivors said that 1 bomb went through the ship's funnel, while some doubt this claim. The ship immediately began to list heavily to her starboard side as the bow dipped lower and lower in the water. As the ship began to list, the men inside were ordered to head to the port side rather than the starboard to keep the ship on an even keel, which briefly worked until the ship listed to her port side instead, which was never corrected. The crew made several attempts to lower the lifeboats, but due to the extreme list, starboard side lifeboats capsized while being lowered, and spilled their occupants into the sea. Then, less than 25 minutes after the attack, Lancastria made her final plunge, taking thousands with her. There were only 2,477 survivors out of the over 9,000 aboard. Out of fear that the disaster would cause a loss of British morale, Prime Minister Winston Churchill had the information suppressed from publication. But around a month later, the information made it to the press and the bodies of the ship's victims washed ashore. On June 17, 1988, a memorial was placed at St. Nazaire to honor the 48th anniversary of the disaster. Sinking of the HMT Lancastria, which was a horrible tragedy which claimed the lives of thousands of people. The story may be mostly forgotten, but we should pay respect to the innocent people who lost their lives that day. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss any new uploads from this channel. I try to make a new upload every other week, so don't miss out. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.